The Oklahoma Sooners got a little bit of love from the College Football Playoff Committee, but they still have a lot to prove.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire and USA Today Sports. And on today's show, we're going to discuss, was the Tennessee win the biggest win of the Brent Venables era? That'll be in the third segment. Coming up in segment 2, we'll take a new, fresh look at Oklahoma's remaining schedule, see if any of our preconceived notions from the preseason are still holding up, or if we're seeing those teams a little bit differently. We'll do that in segment 2. But Jay, the college football playoff rankings dropped for the first time in the 2025 season, and your Oklahoma Sooners come in at number 12 following their big win over Tennessee.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a little bit of respect here, which, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that we were actually placed right here at 12. I did anticipate us and Texas being close to each other, but Texas at 11, us at 12. And then, so that means that Oklahoma, which for the uninitiated, that does mean that Oklahoma and Texas are the first two out if today the college football playoffs started. Mainly because, if you didn't really notice in that, I'll put it back on the screen in a second, but we are being at 11 and 12. There were two key things that did not show up in the top 12. You had no G5 school up there, and you didn't have an ACC school. So putting it back up here, if Virginia is assumed to be your ACC champion, they would move to the 11th spot, and the top rated G5 would move into number 12. So even though Texas is above us, they're still out in the cold.
Yeah, so Memphis would be that number 12 team. From what I understand, they were the highest rated group of 5 program. And this is just kind of the way it works. You're going to get representation from all of the Power 4 conferences, and the G5 is going to get some representation, as it should. I've long believed that there should be a component of the playoff, no matter what format that you're in, that should include some G5 representation, simply because, not because they're going to go win the whole thing, but because you need to involve those schools. Otherwise, you need to have 2 separate playoffs, 2 separate divisions, and then go from there. But yeah, Oklahoma, is in a good spot. I think getting this kind of respect, being at number 12, you've got 3 top 25 wins in the AP top 25 this season. Michigan was one. Auburn was an AP top 25 team when you beat them a couple months ago. And then you get this win over Tennessee. There's not a lot of teams that have that kind of a resume, and Oklahoma has it. Now, you do have the loss to Texas, which is why you're sitting 1 spot behind Texas. And you have the loss to Ole Miss, which Ole Miss is a top 8 team in the college football playoff rankings. So your 2 losses are high quality losses. So that's part of the reason why you're up there so highly recognized and highly thought of. You still got a lot to prove, though.
Yeah, and you're a lot nicer than me when it comes to that, because I look at this and I try to get a better understanding that the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, if you're looking at them right there, they're number 10 in the country. Their 2 losses are number 18, Miami, and number 3, Texas A&M. Miami's 2 losses are number 15, Louisville, and an unranked team in SMU, who's still a 6-3 team. So they're still someone that's considered pretty solid. Texas's wins over Oklahoma helps them, but their losses are the number 1 Ohio State and unranked Florida. I'm kind of curious how Notre Dame gets this kind of love like that, and why is Notre Dame and Texas so close together, but Miami gets kind of hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived. Doesn't make any sense to me.
It's the ACC. It's the disrespect to the ACC. I'm going to be frank about that. They're not on the same level. And Notre Dame's always going to get a bump above the ACC, above the Big 12. If you want to look at it in these terms, you have the SEC, you have the Big 10, you have Notre Dame, and then you have the ACC and the Big 12 on similar tiers. If you had 2-loss BYU and 2-loss Texas Tech, they would not be in the top 10 or the top 12 either. They'd be 15 or lower in these rankings. But because what BYU is still undefeated and Texas Tech has just 1 loss on the season, they're going to be in the top 10. But they play in Lubbock this week with ESPN College Game Day in town. And that could be one of those quote unquote early elimination games for the college football playoff as we enter the final month of the season.
And I see that. It's more so to me, it's the inconsistencies of
There's always going to be inconsistency, dude.
what they have, and that that bothers me, right? That's the thing that that kind of wears me out when it comes to that, because it's so inconsistent as to who they give leeway and not, right? Like Alabama has a really bad loss, but Bama also won. They won like 4 straight ranked games. That should mean something, and it does. That's why Alabama's rated so high. So that there's respect in that. I totally appreciate that. Tennessee's down there at number 25. I mean, granted, their schedule has not given them any type of a quote unquote assistance. They played Georgia close, and then the Oklahoma game was, I guess you could say, pseudo close for the most part, but they kind of just got dumped all the way down. The Alabama game was not very close. So, I mean, 3 losses makes sense for them to be where they're at. But our losses are to 2 teams that are ranked. And I don't know. It just feels like, I don't think, I mean, Notre Dame has what? USC is their ranked win. That's it. I get their 2 losses were like combined 4 points, but
the Notre Dame thing, it's a brand thing. I mean, Notre Dame's up there because of the brand. That's a reality. And listen, they've been playing good football since they lost those 2 early season games.
Right.
And they don't have a loss to an unranked Florida team.
Yeah. I guess I'm still looking at the Miami part of it. Miami's team's unranked, but they're not a losing record team, right? SMU.
Yeah, but still, I mean, who would you take right now, Florida or SMU?
Oh, SMU.
Really?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I'd take SMU.
Florida's not good, but I would not take them over SMU right now.
Oh, I'd take SMU over Florida today. I just think Florida's dysfunctional. I mean, their defense is good. Defense is solid. Their offense just typically doesn't figure out how to play ball. They're super dysfunctional, in my personal opinion. And then you lost Dallas Wilson again. Oh yeah, give me SMU all day. I think Jennings would figure that out.
You want to see something or hear something funny? If you go look at the SP Plus rankings, guess who are ranked right next to each other at 38 and 39?
Florida and SMU.
And so basically they're the same team. I mean, if we want to look at it analytically, they're the exact same team.
Right. Like
just different records. But comparing the college football playoff rankings real quick to the SP Plus rankings, so I think you can look at a computer approach to this. The only real differences here are Utah's in their top 12, USC is in their top 12 in the SP Plus rankings. Texas is not, BYU is not. So those are kind of the only differences. Oklahoma is ranked at 8, SMU or Notre Dame, not SMU. Notre Dame is at 7 in here. And so, some minor changes, minor differences from the computer outlook to the committee outlook, but largely pretty much the same.
Yeah, for the most part. No, I totally agree with you there. It's just interesting to see that just the logic behind some of the way that they put some of these teams, right?
Yeah, and I'm with you though that like I think a Texas loss to Florida, even though it's a 3-5 Florida team in Gainesville, to me that holds a little bit more water than Miami losing to SMU. Does that make sense? Like, and I think in a brand perception way, SMU is a program on the rise. They're an ascending program, but they don't have the same recognition, the same brand. Gainesville, or was that game in Dallas? I can't remember if the Miami SMU game was in Dallas.
Yes, they were on the road. Okay. It was a road game. Yes, they were in Dallas.
Gerald J. Ford Stadium does not compare to the Swamp. So fair. Going and losing in a game that is more suited for ACC lacrosse than it is for football versus losing in the Swamp, completely different thing. So I put a little bit more respect on, if we're going to put respect on losses, a little bit more respect on Texas's loss than Miami's. You should not have lost that game. And in the ACC, you have no margin for error. You don't have the affordability to lose to teams that are unranked and want to get an at-large bid. You got to go win your conference now.
That's true. That's true. But again, an ACC team beat one team in the SEC. It's just always interesting to talk about that. Great way to start the season, right?
Yeah.
Bama, you just hurt yourself with that one, dog. Y'all should. Yeah,
hey,
that's not.
They gave up 200 something yards of rushing to Florida State that week. So maybe X-Rod can.
We better do the same.
Repeat that here in about a week and a half. But let's talk about Oklahoma's upcoming schedule, because they've got 3 games left against Alabama on the road. Then they have Missouri at home. And then you got LSU at home to close the season. What do we think about those 3 games coming up? We'll discuss on Locked On Sooners.
The NFL season, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you miss the start of games or you want to ride those hot hands, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a single game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making it late push. I know my Thunder are doing that just about every week. It kind of kills me that they do that. My heart can't handle it. But if I put a little action on it, I can definitely make sure that my heart is palpitating the entire time. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners, they've got the Alabama Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa inside the unfriendly confines of Bryant Denny Stadium and Nick Saban Field, which still kind of sounds weird, but pretty cool. And then they come back home to finish the season with the Missouri Tigers and the LSU Tigers. One day we're going to have to do a Tigers rankings, and maybe this is good off-season content, like ranking the Tigers in college football, because there's so many teams that are Tigers, and it just drives me nuts a little bit.
There's a lot of Tigers.
People make
Tigers,
fun of
a lot of Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really the 2 Wildcats.
Yep.
Tigers, Bulldogs, Wildcats. I think those are really the 3 that just dominates everything. But I digress. Yes, you're right. That's hilarious.
And we play 3 of them in the last 2 seasons, so that's fun. But yeah, so kind of this discussion, it's bye week. We got an opportunity to kind of decompress, to relax a little bit as we go into the weekend. We just get to enjoy college football. But had this thought, like, what do we think about these 3 teams now compared to what we thought about them at the beginning of the year? Because at the beginning of the year, we thought Alabama going on the road to face Alabama was going to be really, really tough. Coming back home and facing LSU to close the season, I think everybody looked at that one as like, that is a huge, huge game with huge college football playoff implications. The Missouri game, everybody wants to get that one back because of the way that game finished last year, where you kind of had it and then let it slip away. So, Jay, just your 10,000-foot view right now of these 3 teams. What do you make of Oklahoma's remaining schedule?
Yeah, that's the funny thing you say that, we talked about that. I know that at the beginning of the season coming in that, okay, you probably dropped the game against Bama. You might lose the Texas game. That was always the up in the air game. And then you have LSU that could end up being a playoff play-in, because LSU is considered going to be one of the best teams in the SEC. They should go to the SEC championship game, this, that, and other, right? So you laid that out perfectly. And then when you look at it, you're like, yeah, LSU probably is a win. Should be it. Now, the question here is going to be, does Bama not fall on their face in this game now that LSU has fired their coach in a bye week? That is the thing to me. They are in a situation where they could potentially be in a trap where they're overlooking LSU because of all the circumstances, and their mind is set on Oklahoma, and that could be detrimental to them, right? Yeah, there is a chance on that. Now, I'm not saying that Bama will lose that game, but I'm saying it's something to watch out. I mentioned that about Tennessee versus Arkansas, and I got people laughed at me about it, and Tennessee struggled. I was like, it's one of those games where it could be a trap. You're just not looking at it that way, and you're prepping for the team that's coming up, next. This one could be a similar scenario, but now we're looking at the rest of the season. I don't think LSU gets back to who they are, especially with Nussmeier being, dealing with his problems. Missouri, we thought that we should be able to win that at home because it's a home game. That now feels even more and more winnable. I think ESPN has Oklahoma in the predictor. That's the game that they're predicted to win at like a pretty good clip. I think that one's 59%, roughly 60%. They should win that one. LSU is sitting at 65%. Especially the way the offense is starting to get better. What's interesting is the matchup predictor has Bama at a 70% chance of winning in that game, while the SP Plus has Oklahoma rated 2 spots above Alabama. And I think it's because of just the way their defense has struggled in the run game, but their pass defense is fantastic. And Oklahoma has now found a run game the last 2 weeks. Can make things interesting. So to your question and to your point, John, and I ask you this, which game, well, I guess you say which game really surprised you the most that's not, out of those three, which one is probably the biggest surprise, I guess you could say, going into it?
Yeah, I think LSU probably, just because I thought they were going to be a lot better team than they are this year. The offense just hasn't really been able to click, whether it's Nussmeier's been injured or the run game just hasn't worked out. The offensive line really took a significant step back. It's just not been good. Now their defense is really good, and we expected the defense to take a step. We thought that, and a lot of the reasons why I thought LSU could be a legit contender this year was because they were going to have a lot of really good weapons on offense with Garrett Nussmeier coming back, and they were going to have a defense that was going to ascend and help that offense out a little bit. It just hasn't been the case. So that game looks completely different to me now than it did before the season. It would not even surprise me to see Michael Van Buren get the start in that game. That if the next few weeks go poorly for LSU, that Garrett Nussmeier could just shut it down and say, hey, you know what? I'm getting ready for the draft, and not go face the most physical defense in college football to close out his collegiate career.
That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way, but you're right. That is a definite possibility in that situation that they even decide to move on and say, Nuss, you've been struggling, you've been hurt. We may as well go ahead and move into, let Michael Van Buren play and
see what we got. Yeah, just put something on tape for whoever the next head coach is going to be, because, I mean, there's going to be some changes. There's going to be a lot of changes. Now, I expect, Baker to still be the defensive coordinator there because he's done a really good job, depending on who they hire. But that's the game that surprises me the most. I think Missouri is still a really solid team. Ahmad Hardy is still a problem, and he's one of those guys that, like a Justice Haynes, he could hurt you in one play. Matt Zoller's a promising young quarterback, but going into Gaylord Family, that's going to be a tough ask to play in that environment against this defense. I don't care what kind of weapons you have.
Lucky for him, it's 11 o'clock kickoff. So, but we both understand 11 o'clock kickoffs. We come from the Big 12. We've been initiated and we were born in it, raised by it. We understand. We never saw the dark until we got older and got into the SEC. So, we understand the life of the bright lights first thing in the morning, especially as winter's starting to come and look, right in the dead smack middle of fall. We get it. So, may help them. I don't know.
And I think the defense is going to have a huge chip on their shoulder for that game.
Yeah, they
because
want revenge.
They had that game, and then again, they let it slip through their fingers a little bit on that final couple drives, and then the offense really handed it over at the end. So I think they're going to come into that one really looking to prove a point. And I mean, it could be like, remember the Titans style punishment that they're looking to put on the Missouri Tigers. I'm not going to predict a score here, but I think it could be one of those that could get out of hand if Missouri's not careful. But yeah, the Alabama game is the hinge game. Like that's the defining game for this season. You go win that one and you can put yourself into the college football playoff at the end of the season if you take care of business the final 2 weeks. You don't, and you're going to be a bubble team. You're going to be among the fan bases arguing that you should be in the college football playoff if you're 9-3 and finish the season. But the Alabama one, I mean, it's the next one, right? They say the next one is always the most important one. Well, literally the next one is the most important one. And you've got to go take care of business in Tuscaloosa. But listen, man, these games won't be easy because Missouri's defense is good. LSU's defense is good. And Alabama has good components to their defense. Can Oklahoma's run game take advantage of that team? That's going to be the biggest question. And we both think that they will.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just kind of shocking to see that the way this season can end. I mean, the Alabama game is one that last year we thought we had zero chance and we went out there and dominated.
Yep.
Now this year we kind of feel the same, like there's a chance now instead of feeling like, oh, there's no hope. No, it feels like there's a chance. It's going to be an afternoon game too, which even helps it. So Bama doesn't get the fortunates of a night game and be able to really get into your brain up into that moment. No, it's a midday prime game. So we're going to be in the spotlight again, and there's a good chance Oklahoma can make it a fun one.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about this in our first segment, but that weekend could be kind of a preliminary college football playoff elimination weekend because you have Texas going to Athens to face Georgia. You have Oklahoma going to Tuscaloosa to face Alabama. One, just phenomenal scheduling by the SEC because that's going to be some incredible theater. But two, if Oklahoma and Texas lose those games, it's going to be tough to argue either of them should be in there. But if both win those games, then you have a even bigger mess on your hands because of 2-loss Georgia, 2-loss Alabama, 2-loss Oklahoma, 2-loss Texas. Who knows what happens then? But I'm up for all of it, man. Give me all the chaos.
I kind of feel like that's a everybody that the SEC gets 5 teams in. If you have 5 teams that have a minimum of 10 wins, all of them's getting in.
Yeah, which means we need Georgia to beat Texas actually, because if there's Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and Oklahoma all sitting there, well, I guess that couldn't. If they're all sitting there with 2 losses or fewer, which Texas would have to beat A&M and Georgia for that to happen. I don't think that they will, but let's just speak hypothetically. Then I think Oklahoma gets left out. If those are your 6 teams that are in contention and they take 5,
possibility,
then Oklahoma, I think, gets left out. Or Alabama could. Who knows? It's all actually Alabama. It's going to be a mess because Alabama beat Georgia. If Oklahoma beats Alabama, but Alabama beat Georgia, and Georgia loses to Texas, but Texas beat Oklahoma, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a chaotic final few weeks of the season, and I can't wait. Oklahoma got a big win over Tennessee. Was it the biggest win of the Brent Venables era? We're going to discuss that coming up next year on Locked On Sooners. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, the Tennessee win, I think, was incredibly huge. Obviously, it kept Oklahoma in the playoff discussion. As we sit here now on Wednesday, November the 5th, they are in the playoff discussion, number 12 in the playoff rankings. They're right there. Everything's right in front of them. Is this, or was this, the biggest win of the Brent Venables era?
You got 2 arguments. It could either be knocking off number 3 Texas in Red River in 2023. It could be Bama last year at home, the number 7 team in the country, beating them. Or it could be Michigan at home in prime time, Tennessee prime time. There's a lot of options, luckily, for Brent Venables in this one. And if I'm being honest, I think this is probably his biggest one. It was a road win, something that he hasn't really. I mean, the only other one really on the road he had was the Auburn game last year, and Auburn wasn't ranked, and we knew that they were in struggles. But you win that one, and then the Bama one that was at home. So I'd say in an atmosphere that's very like Tennessee's only lost 2 games at home since 2021 outside only 2 games. Actually, it's been more than that. I think it's been going back even further than that. They've only lost actually it's about that 2 games or whatnot, and that's to Georgia. That's the team that's knocked them off each time, and then now us. Like Bama didn't even beat them at the crib when DeBoer got there, so that's not a bad thing. Think we've done a really good job of. I'd say that's probably the biggest one. I think that has the best argument when you look at comparative of everybody that they played.
Yeah, the win over Texas was huge. You went into that game though as one of the better teams in college. I want to say you were a top 10 team at that point because you were undefeated going into the game.
It's true.
To me, there wasn't as much. Now, there was a lot of pressure because you got shut out the year before. But I think from a job security standpoint.
Number 12 in the country in that game.
Close.
Close, very.
Close, but no cigar. To me, there was so much more pressure on this team and on Venables in particular going into this game because of the way the Ole Miss one finished, the fact that you already had 2 losses on the season, and you're going on the road to face a former an Oklahoma legend. I won't say former. He's still a legend.
Mm-hmm.
After they beat you in your first SEC game last year, you get that win. It gets you to 7 wins, already more wins than you have a year ago. It keeps you in the college football playoff discussion. Whereas, back in 2023, you lose that game and your season's not really over because you lost to a rival. You still have a lot to play for in that one. Now, if you had lost it big, it might have been a devastating blow. But to me, this one was like your backs are against the wall. You're up against it. You have to get a win. If you want to stay in the college football playoff hunt, you had to get a win. And Oklahoma was able to go do that in a big time road environment, one of the most hostile places to play in college football. And you didn't even play perfectly, and you went and got the win. You had 11 penalties. You turned the ball over 2 times. You had 3 freshmen starting on your offensive line, and you found a way to win. It's not like that Texas game where you had a pretty veteran offensive line. You had a veteran quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, who was pretty well battle tested at that time. You had, the defense wasn't quite where it is now, but it was ascending. It was better than what it was in 2022. You had veteran skill players. I mean, that team and a veteran play caller in Jeff Levy. So that team, I think, was better positioned to win a game like that than this team is. Even though you have a much better defense, the offense is not quite where that offense was, if that makes sense. So to me, given everything that this team is and all of the miscues, the penalties, the turnovers, and the youth that you had starting on your offensive line, to me, this is a much more impressive win. And I think the biggest win, because it does provide a springboard, not only for this season, but also for the future that you can build on.
That's true, especially going into hostile environments like that. Like this was the first loss in dark mode, I think, ever for Tennessee. So you went in there and you kind of spoiled a lot of the things that they do. So no, you got a good point there. I go between this one, really, if I'm picking 2, it's between this one and the Alabama game. The Alabama game puts you right into bowl eligibility. That basically made you feel like the season wasn't a complete failure, even though it was a, quote unquote failure in everybody's eyes. But this helped you feel a little bit more comfortable with this staff going forward by getting that win against Alabama at home. Then this game here, though, going on the road, quote unquote back against the wall. This was your playoff eliminationer, which puts you right here at number 12 on the college football playoff bracket to start in the rankings or whatnot. Yeah, this probably does jump out as that game. And like you said, I think you laid it out perfectly though, John. So many things was going against you and you still won the freaking game. Like what are the odds that you can overcome yourself like that and actually win a game like this? That to me, it could be a turning point for this team going forward.
Yeah, and listen, I don't know what we're going to get out of this team over the rest of the season, but I really like where they stand, and I really like the direction of the program. And this is one of those games that everybody takes notice of. You know, it was a good vibes win, but it was all like the Alabama win was. It was a good vibes win when you got that win over Alabama. It was a good vibes win when you got the win over Texas.
Yeah.
But this one was a good vibes win, and it also kept you playing for significant things in the postseason.
Things that matter.
Right. And so it sets the tone, sets the stage for those final 3 games.
I agree.
You know, you lose that game, and yes, those final 3 are important still, but maybe they don't have as much importance to them as they do now.
No, you're a good point. Like the tone is set now that you ain't got no excuse to lose no more of these games, truthfully. Like you should be able to overcome Bama. You should be able to overcome Missouri at home. Same thing with LSU, especially with all the stuff that they're dealing with. You kind of should win. You should be able to close it out.
Yeah. Well, and even if you don't, but you get to 9-3 and your losses are to Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas, 3 top 15 teams, I think you still end the season feeling pretty good about how the season went out. You were in the playoff discussion and you were a bubble playoff team.
That's true.
But if you lose that game to Tennessee, you lose to Alabama, you finish 8-4, then there's just kind of a lot more questions, you know, because you hit your floor. You didn't hit the potential ceiling for this team.
Yeah, that's if Oklahoma, as we said before, just wins like they're supposed to in the rest of these games, you head to the playoffs. And I wonder, honestly, what do fans feel about this team at that point?
Yeah.
They actually make the playoffs.
Fan feels is going to be electric. So yeah, we'll cover that too down the road. But one thing other to note is if you got in on Oklahoma's win total at 6.5, which it was set at kind of early, congrats. Hope you listen to us on that one. And if you got in at 7.5, you still got a great chance to hit on that one too. So, which I did on both of them. So, and that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on every podcast platform and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. Follow me at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. Boomer
Sooner. Just win, baby.
Just win.